mic's on already, LG? Oh, cool. I can dig it. I can't.
Can we throw in a...
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Reverend Guitar Circle R Ranch. I'm Ken, and I'm here with Jesse Hopkins, and little gal is behind the computer screen there, but she doesn't have a microphone today. So we could talk about her, and she can't defend herself. What do you think of that?
That's not true.
Oh, well, no, that's not true. She could.
I still have the end broadcast button.
She does. She just reminded me she has the end broadcast button, and she's only about 6 feet away. And she can close that 6 feet pretty quick and smack me upside the head. I know from experience. What an exciting day today it is for me. I have Clay Avenue Guitars Boxer number 25. And with me, I have Jesse Hopkins of Clay Avenue Guitars. And Jesse is one of the original group of Reverend employees, more or less.
Early group.
Early group.
Early group wasn't really one of the original,
yeah.
But
yeah. Well, because originally there would have been, of course, Naylor and Scott. And
yeah, Scott. I hadn't met at
you,
that point.
you guys, right? You guys
Carl,
never crossed. Carl and Zach Green,
yeah,
of course.
Zach was there when I hired in 2000. That's when I hired in.
You hired in 2000.
January 1st of 2000 was my first day.
And how long did you work for Joe?
6 years. I left in 2006.
There you have it.
Oh, yeah.
And well, this is a whole other thing we can get in on all this. Let's talk about these guitars here really quick first. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why we have Jesse here today, other than just Reverend history stuff, which is cool.
And I'm handsome.
And he's handsome. But he makes these beautiful guitars in the Detroit area, and I am now the proud owner of this one, which is amazing because I'm going to come over. Oh, Penny, you tell me I'm doing this right. Look, you guys look at the top on this. This is a stunner. And this is a Boxer, you just call this a Boxer semi-hollow?
Semi-hollow. It's got a 4-inch center section.
4-inch center section. Look at the flame.
It's roasted curly maple on the top and Honduran mahogany on the back. This, actually, more than anything that I have built over the years, this is the sum total and so heavily influenced by my time at Reverend when we were making the USA-made models, and that's where I started to learn about semi-hollow construction and started to learn what a top-performing electric guitar could sound like, because those did everything that they promised.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this is in a way an homage to my time there.
Yeah, and a lot of the Naylor influences, locking tuners, of course. Mm-hmm. If you're going to make guitars,
yeah,
why would you not? I understand vintage recreations of instruments that have been around, and you want to blah blah. But I mean, any sort of modern guitar that is marketed as now, why would it not have?
That's
locking
all well
tuners?
And good. And I was trying to distill down my thoughts about exactly what you're kind of getting at there. If I had to choose right now, gun to my head or not, between a holy grail vintage guitar, it doesn't matter what it is, and say one of those U.S.-made Reverends, just for sake of argument, I would absolutely choose one of those.
Yeah.
They do everything. They look right, they sound right, they play right, and they don't have any of the pretense associated with obscenely expensive vintage guitars, which those have earned their place in history. But so has Reverend.
Yeah, for sure.
History has absolutely vindicated all of that, in my opinion.
And obviously, the other Naylor influence on what you're currently doing is you're putting the railhammer pickups and everything, which we love.
Oh, without question. Again, the products do what they claim.
So I have had one of these personally for the last 5 or 6 years, but I bought this boxer from you at Gordy's guitar show.
Yeah, I still have the receipt hanging on the wall in my shop.
Yeah,
Dude.
back in it
I think it was 2017.
15, 16, 17.
Yeah.
This little solid body, and we currently have it set up with an Alnico Grande in the bridge and a Hyper Vintage in the neck. See, I make notes on that, but we have had just about every combination of rail hammers in this, and have done a lot of demonstration videos right over there up against that wall.
Right on.
And of course, it's been parked in the warehouse for a couple days, but I got it out, a couple weeks, but I got it out yesterday to shoot some pictures of it to promote the fact that you were going to be here. And I guess smart money would have been on tuning it up first.
Well, you know.
But that, it doesn't always, I don't always do the smart thing.
You got a lot going on.
So the hollow body boxer, you said, has an anvil and a chisel in it.
Yes. An anvil in the bridge, Hyper Vintage
Hyper
in the neck.
Vintage. And which, like you said, everybody should be able to play metal on anything. And I agree.
In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And it does everything else so well.
And hot pickups are fun, and what people forget, and I forget this all the time too, I often, I just play with all of the controls dimed on everything all the time.
Yeah, same.
And you don't have to.
No, you can do so much just by rolling it back.
You can. But here is, Alnico Grande. Also sounds beautiful, but it is more focused on the solid body, even with the Bigsby. I mean, it is that you can really feel more of the initial attack. Like rock music. As Greg Koch would say, there's nothing wrong with it.
That sounds just like a guitar.
Wiggle stick. As Greg Koch would say, don't fear the Bigsby.
Oh yeah, and I think that I don't know if you still have it in there, but I had your
Soft
sensitive
touch spring
in there. Yeah.
If you didn't have it in there initially, we added it.
Okay.
Because we've just gotten everybody associated with us has gotten so accustomed to that soft touch spring.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just can't get over this. This is my new toy, so I'm just going to keep holding this. Okay, here we go. So normally we're going to do our 12 questions with Jesse Hopkins so that we can talk about your career a little bit.
All right.
And what I want to know is what got you started in guitar before you started working for Joe.
Oh, it's just like, or at least so similar for guitar makers. I built a guitar in college. It came out terribly, but I was hooked.
Yeah.
I thought I have to get better at this. It was like the first time I heard Thunderstruck by AC/DC. I was like, I have to know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I got to make those sounds. Well, I wanted to make those things at that point. It was kind of like the old gods and the new gods coming in. The players that I was interested were giving way to guitar makers that I was interested in. So my father kind of steered me over to a luthier school in Michigan, Brian Gallup School of Luthier. He went through there in '98. Was working at a little music store after that, just learning repairs and stuff, which is actually where I met you, which was, God, this is 20 plus years ago.
I can remember the guy, but I can't remember what the store was called.
Junkyard Guitars.
Oh, Junkyard Guitars.
Yeah. Kind of we'll just say, a slightly questionable local vintage and resale music store. The owner was a character. I imagine he still is.
I have a Les Paul Special that I bought from him still.
Yeah. And I was doing repairs, wanted to get into building. I was actually back at Gallup School for a finishing course primer that was like a couple of days, and saw an ad for Reverend, and that's where I reached out there.
Cool.
I'd always been the kid with Tinker Toys and putting stuff together. I think Naylor said something very similar.
Yeah,
I was always building stuff and taking stuff apart, and started taking my guitars apart when I was like 15, and my parents loved that.
Yeah.
And even more, I could put them back together.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But
we all did all that stuff, but we didn't all go to school for it like you and Naylor did. you know.
Well,
And Gallup is also, and not only did you spawn from Gallup, but that's where Megan is also.
yeah.
Megan Wells went to Gallup, and
Yeah.
she's doing the Megan Wells guitars now,
Which are incredible.
they're incredible.
I believe you own one.
I have one. Yeah, it's my
It's
50th.
blue, right?
It was my 50th birthday present from Miss Penny, the Blue Princess.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah, it's a
seeing that
beautiful
going,
guitar.
oh my God.
And we see Megan out at the NAMM shows and
That's
stuff
so,
like that.
her stuff
She's-
is incredible.
Yeah, she's a wonderful human and an incredible
I
talent.
had met
for
her
sure.
once at Joe Naylor's oldest daughter's graduation.
Oh,
party.
okay, yeah.
So I got to meet her once, and she goes, she was working here at the time. She goes, "Oh, I've heard a lot about you," and I was like, "Oh, fuck," because yeah, I was.
So when you worked for Joe, we were still we were still in the phenolic body era.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you were building bodies.
Yep. Yep.
And that was that the most, because Zach did most of the like pickguard assemblies and electronics.
When I
and-
hired in, yeah, Zach did all the wiring initially. He was doing all the fret prep and neck prep, and the final setup, I think, was always him. I was, my initial jobs were the body assembly, fabrication, qualifying the materials, all of that, and doing a lot of shipping and post setup, QC, and so on.
Cool. And yeah, and then around 2006, we were sort of making the full transition to getting stuff at
Yeah,
new.
yeah.
And as wonderful as those phenolic guitars are, and I have a bunch, as a matter of fact, I have one that you custom made for yourself that we were just looking at a few minutes ago. I should have brought in here because it's a treat.
It's wild. It was one of those things where Naylor was like, "Yeah, don't tell people
and we
you
did
made this here."
and he did it anyways, and it took me a while, but I ended up getting it back here,
Yeah,
which is cool.
yeah.
But we, I like what you said about comparing the old the phenolic reverends to a lot of the vintage instruments that are out there. They were really they are more consistent quality wise
Yeah.
than a lot of vintage builds. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
yeah.
There's no like
Yeah.
digging through those to find a good one. I mean, they were all really nice
and that was
guitars.
by design. These things
Of
were
course.
engineered to do exactly that, and they did
Yeah.
famously. Interestingly, I think when you produce a product that is ahead of its time, you don't always have the luxury of seeing history validated. The world's full of Mozarts out there, and I'm delighted that these have that people finally figured it out. And caught
Well,
on.
they have an active following, but that following is still very small. They're just,
It is,
They're
it
just
is.
very vocal.
Yeah, that
because I think a lot of the marketing issues with that guitar at that time was just that, and this is my opinion, but I personally found them not to be really as aggressive enough for rock music and not really bright enough for country music without people making significant alterations to the. I used them in metal,
Oh yeah, same.
but I
same.
set up my rig to use that guitar for metal.
Yeah, they used to say you'd have to change your amps around.
Right, and guitar players want to like set down their Les Paul and plug this in,
Yeah.
and well, it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
Well, no, of course
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like it's a different instrument, but that you know what I mean. And so it was hard for us as a young company
yeah.
to sort of train people
Oh, yeah.
to do that, and then.
They were left to center in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the
it
body construction freaked people out too.
Oh, it did.
And
It
and
did.
when we started to do the Charger, like you're holding the Charger 290, when we started to
Yeah.
do the Chargers and the Jetstreams, we started to appeal to sort of a more mainstream audience. And then
Yeah.
Naylor very cleverly figured out how to do that without sacrificing the quality,
Correct.
which is awesome.
The foundation of this company, as I have observed it, was always the utmost integrity.
Yeah.
Things had to perform. Things had to be reliable. The biggest takeaway from me was how approachable those guitars were, and these guitars continue to be.
Yeah.
I take stuff like this to trade shows. People bury their hands in their pockets. I've literally got to shove them in their hands just to get somebody to hold them. That was never the case with these.
Not
and
me.
there was freedom in that, to be able to just pick it up
Yeah,
and make music.
Sure. Yeah.
Free of distraction,
Of
free
course.
of, oh, this is a $50,000, vintage whatever. I don't want to scratch it.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
you could play fearlessly.
So I don't know if I'm allowed. So here's the thing. I often put people in the hot seat here, and then we don't prep for these things. So
He said it was okay if I could say the F-bomb.
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. But
Oh,
I'm
no,
going to
by all
drop the
means.
F-bomb right now.
By all means.
Here comes the F-bomb.
Here goes.
First act.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
See what I did to you?
Oh, hey, I'm
So
ready.
you left us and went to Boston.
Baby, I am ready. Yeah, talk about a, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
When I told Naylor, this is where I want to go, he goes, sure you want to do that? And we had a conversation, but the situation for me was, my ambitions at that point were, we'll just say, in a nutshell, yeah, my ambitions got the best of me. There was stuff I wanted to do out there in the world, and I got this job offer from. And again, here's where the "Are you sure you want to do that?" part comes into play, because First Act was and still is not particularly known for the quality of their instruments. The shop that I got hired to go into was no bullshit custom
really
shop.
nice custom
These
shop,
were
yeah.
ex-Gibson guys that were hand building stuff.
So we know Jimmy, right?
Jimmy Archie?
Yeah, he works
Yeah.
at 30th Street Guitars
Okay,
in New York City. I just bought a guitar from him a few weeks ago.
Okay.
We were out. So our daughter goes to college, and the store he is working at is right on
Okay.
that college's
Yeah.
campus.
Yeah.
And so we hung out with him for an afternoon a few weeks ago, and we talked about you, and we talked
Okay.
about what he was doing.
I
And
think
those
I only
guys,
met him once or twice.
they were really trying to do a thing there.
Okay.
You know, and he feels like they accomplished it, and the market wasn't ready for it.
They were, and that was right at a point in my time where, looking back, hindsight being 2020, at the time I felt like, all right, I've absorbed as much as I can from Reverend here. The economy was getting bad. There were a lot of things that pointed to, like I said, there was stuff I wanted to do. We'll just say more traditionally minded things that I wanted to learn how to do.
Sure, like-
set neck guitars, for instance, carved top, traditional wood things.
Carved tops. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you've gotten good at it.
We're getting there. We're getting there. But this job offer came along, and it was one of those, shoot, man, I don't know. This seems like a dicey situation here in Detroit. I really want to go do this other stuff. So that's what I did, and stayed there for about a year. Got my ass handed to me. I was just a little suburban kid in the big city, and
Cost of living in Boston is
a little
significantly
different, a little
than
different,
in Detroit.
and a wage that might have looked good in in Detroit in 2006 certainly doesn't translate to living in Boston, which even at the time was more expensive than San Francisco.
Sure. Yeah.
But I learned a lot,
Cool.
and it's been a real grace to be able to combine it with the stuff that I managed to soak up under Reverend's.
So then you
watchful
came
eyes.
back from Boston
Yep.
to the Detroit area.
Yep,
And
to
then
financial collapse and
Yeah.
emotional, personal turmoil and all of that, but we persevered, and that's when I started making these.
Yeah, and you and your dad sort of got
Yeah.
together on this.
Yeah, it was.
And
you
so
know,
explain your process a little bit for everybody.
I take awesome ideas and I make them into awesome guitars,
Yeah.
and I've. I say that kind of glibly, but
this has become the body shape. I mean, this is the footprint.
Yeah.
Were there other body shapes that you experimented when you came in, or did you just work really? Because it is very pleasing to the eye, obviously, and again with the offset waist thing and the double cutaway thing, there's things that Naylor really loves, about this style of design.
Yeah, the offset that comes from.
And it
working with
really.
Reverend, and
So did you experiment with other body shapes before you landed on
not
this?
too much. I mean, I built a few things while I was at Reverend, copies of like EVH guitars and Music Man stuff, and I started drawing this I think in 2004.
Zach Green has like a
He has
Music Man
the very
guitar that
first
you made?
he has the very first neck I ever carved.
Okay.
Which, bless his heart, he has I think refurbished pretty intensely. But
Zach doesn't get rid of things.
Steve Yankee, the graphic artist at the time.
Yeah.
He has one of the.
Maybe
Music
that's
Man
the one
copies
I'm
in it.
thinking of.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
blue. It's
that's
got a
the one I'm
quilted
thinking
maple
of.
top
Yeah.
by Floyd.
Yeah.
It was Mr. Floyd back then, which Naylor was not into, but I was.
I'm still
at the
Mr.
time
Floyd
I thought
now.
I
Ask
needed it.
anybody. I love Floyd
I'm
Rose
not.
guitars.
I'm all about fixed bridges.
I know.
Whole can of worms.
We're not going to talk anymore about that.
Well, you know, I mean, not to talk about the reverend stuff that we talk about here, you know, bi-weekly, but the Wilkinson thing just destroys.
Yeah.
They stay in tune great. By the time, if you set up a 2-point guitar correctly, you can do anything on it that you can do on a Floyd.
Yeah.
I mean, Floyds are cool, and I like the way they feel underneath the palm of my hand. Most people do not.
Yeah, and they contribute to the sound. But
Yeah, you know, it doesn't bother me a bit, you know, but I understand where people are coming from. And I use and abuse the Wilkinson equipped guitars weekly, and never have any issues with it. And we
your
put
Eastsider has one. Right?
my Eastsider has one, my Matt Wests have one, and we put the little body route underneath so I get the up pull.
Okay.
And we started doing that for Reeves Cabrals because Reeves wanted the up pull thing, but he didn't want a locking trem.
Yeah.
And Reeves, you know, uses that WV50, and we've talked about, like, Wilkinson has developed trems. We can talk about the one that I have one of Trev's prototype trems on the GPS over there in the corner, and we can talk about that when we're done with this or whatever.
Oh, we will.
And I've showed this stuff to like Reeves, and Reeves is like, I don't have any problem with the one I'm using. And then it ends the conversation, you know. And Trev will be like, show this to Reeves.
Well, that's such a good point. And going back to like founding principles and stuff, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
right?
I get it.
And so many quote unquote innovators out there. I won't drop any names unless you really want to throw down the gauntlet.
I don't want to get into a fist fight.
No, I had I won't name any names, but I had a certain guitar made out of carbon fiber with stainless steel frets that did not rely on a traditional tang method. Well, they fall off after about 25 years.
Oh, that's weird.
You know, so if you're going to innovate, well, sure, but hopefully you're not building time bombs for some chump who's maybe working at Guitar Center just trying to pay his mortgage doing guitar repair, like I am,
that's
or was
interesting.
anyway at the time. So yeah,
that's fascinating.
The innovation.
Those were cool though.
Sure,
they were cool. They were definitely cool. Speaking of Reeves,
I
we brought it all home.
The point being, if you're going to innovate, boy, put your best foot forward, do the best that you can, and hopefully it
for sure
survives the test of time. And that you guys are here and crushing it is proof of that.
Getting back to talking about you some more, because
we went off
on a thing.
I said we.
So you were doing repair work at GC.
Yeah.
While you were building guitars.
Yeah.
So you were doing a full-time day gig.
Yeah. As one does.
Up in the Detroit area, and then you're getting off of work and you're going to your shop.
Oh, yeah.
So
living and breathing it.
And is your shop on Clay Avenue?
It was.
Tell everybody.
It was. An excellent question.
Yes.
Is this on your list? Is this the hot seat? Because I'm
cool,
baby.
I'm not even. I haven't even gotten to the list.
I feel like we
probably won't.
We're on an episode of Hot Ones.
Yeah. Nobody cares what your top 5 favorite records are at this point. We're having too much fun talking about guitars.
No. The very first shop we were in, where these really started to develop, was on Clay Avenue in Detroit, in a big industrial complex called the Russell, Industrial.
Sure.
We weren't there for too long, and the question was, because everything is so, I don't know if transitory is the right word, with the economy being so crazy, we didn't know how long we were going to be here, but we were there long enough. Currently, we're operating out of my basement workshop, keeping it real close to home. But no, we were there for a while, and it was like the Wild West. I thought I found a dead body in one of the bathrooms once. Yeah, I kid you not. I mean, there was razor wire on the fences when you pull in. And,
boy, it's changed a lot quickly, hasn't it?
I haven't been there in a few years, but it was a place where you paid attention to what was around the corner, and you worried about somebody kicking through the walls and not stealing stuff, but people would go in and vandalize and just destroy things.
So that is right there at 94 and 75.
Just north of 94. It's literally as you're going south on I-75.
There's a lot of music, because Naylor originally had Naylor Amplifiers' first location was in the Russell Building.
Yeah, and cool place. It was cool place.
Yeah, other Detroit musical.
A lot of creative individuals, a lot of musicians, artists, craftspeople, all kinds.
I don't think that you would recognize it even now.
Wasn't the reclaimed wood guitar guy there for a while?
He may
I
still
don't
be.
think so.
Really?
Oh, I thought he was.
I had talked to him at length a little while.
I feel bad because my buddy Jeff is.
Well, there's a
building his
couple.
stuff.
There's Jeff Roy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually interviewed with that dude.
Oh yeah.
I didn't get anywhere with it, but I believe they are relying on more like satellite luthiers and techs. I'm not sure who's doing this finish work or whatever. Jeff had actually reached out to me asking, "Hey, could you spray these?" And I don't think I called him back. Or I did, but he didn't have a voicemail, so it just rang and rang.
That's weird, Jeff.
That is weird. He doesn't have social media either.
I don't know. I just saw him a couple weeks ago. He was at our 25th anniversary party at the Magic Bag.
I met him a long time ago at a Philadelphia guitar show, which you guys were not at. I was
That's
super
weird.
nervous
What
to
was
be
I
there,
not?
but
What was I not doing there?
Yeah, you guys weren't there, and I was kind of bummed.
Yeah,
So,
we usually go to that
WTF.
every year.
Yeah, that was why I went.
What year would that have been?
It would have been around 2012, 2013.
Why did we miss one? We must have missed
No,
one for some
2011 maybe.
reason. Oh, maybe
'Cause
we
I
weren't
wasn't
going
at
regularly
GC
yet.
yet.
Because I think we've been to every one for the last 10 years, so it was probably the year before
I
we
think I had
started
gone
going regularly.
with Naylor to one of those,
Yeah.
which is why I picked that one to go to. That was our debut show. Can't believe you missed it.
Yeah, geez, what a jerk. Well, we'll be there in a month, everybody. So 6 weeks or so, Penny and I will be at the Fall Philly Guitar Show. Back to shameless plug.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be working the booth with Johnny Cola and Don.
And go check them out.
And
It's totally worth it.
and then the Vintage Guitar Magazine is going to be present and sponsoring that show, and they're sponsoring a Saturday Night Jam, as are we, which is going to feature Mr. Gil Paris. Jamming on the guitars, yeah. So
That's where I met him for the
something
first
going on,
time. Was at I think it was at a Philly show I did with Joe Naylor.
Good man. We
made him race down
regularly
the
do
hall.
Philly and Dallas. We do Fall Philly, and then we do the spring show in Dallas every year. And then outside of that, we do the NAMM shows. And then if Gordy gets his shit together and has a show in Detroit,
He hasn't done one in a while.
I'll throw some stuff together and go hang out up there because it's right up the street, you know. Plus,
Go to Cleveland.
I used to love going to Gordy's show at the State Fairgrounds. Remember?
I know.
so much
I did a couple of those, and
I have so many guitars that I bought there still. It was a fun show.
It was.
It was huge.
When he had him in Dearborn,
that old
I really
building,
liked
yeah.
too.
Oh,
That was great.
Those
but
were really nice.
At the State Fair was like kind of the mecca
It was.
of those shows, and everybody still talks about them.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons why I like the Dallas show so much is because it reminds me the most of Gordy's show. Although the Dallas show there's a lot of manufacturers that go to that now, which makes it kind of fun for us and a lot of vintage stuff. Here we go again. We just went off on a thing. So coming back. So you then, now recently there's no more GC.
No.
And
no,
so
the
you're doing.
pandemic did away with that. For me.
Pandemic did away with that for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And so you're doing guitar repair stuff
Yes,
out of your home
I-
shop
I'm-
and still making guitars.
Yep, doing full service repairs, setups, pickup installs, restoration work, which I'm up to the gills on, so don't ask me for finish work. I'm months and months behind.
Good for
But
you.
I had managed to build up enough of a client base such that when the time was right and was time to say, all right, I'm ready to do this on my own, enough of those folks followed me, and have been fortunate enough to move enough of these things thanks to enthusiastic advocates such as yourself.
Nice. Nice. How many of these? How many of these have you made now?
I am finishing up numbers 26 and 27 at home, so this is number 25, which was just finished not even a year ago. So still pretty low numbers. I've got a single cutaway design that I'm hoping to be prototyping.
Oh, cool.
In the next year. It's gonna crush.
Oh, nice.
It's
Nice.
so awesome. It's so awesome. Building small batches of the guitars, doing lots of repair work, cranking out setups, and
So how can people find you?
on Facebook, on the web, Clay Avenue Guitars. You can even look for me, Jesse Hopkins, Jesse Ian Hopkins. You'll find my personal pages, and I've got pictures of all this stuff. My resume is all over.
Is
all
there
over
a
the place.
ClayAvenueGuitars.com?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then
ClayAvenueGuitars.com.
Is that where people
and,
can? I know you said you're not taking any new repair. You're not taking any current restoration
yeah,
work.
yeah, big
but
jobs.
eventually you will.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a growth spurt, so I'm
Good for you.
getting my ducks in a row to be able to maintain turnaround times and quality of work and larger volumes and that sort of thing.
So the thing that actually brought Jesse down here to us
Was a
today
Honda Civic.
that we're talking about was a Honda Civic. As you guys who follow us closely and you Detroit area guys know, Joe Pistorius from Joe's Music in East Point has retired, which nobody thought was ever going to happen. It's amazing somebody has been in the industry for 150 years.
That was where I played my first record.
When they retire, it's quite a milestone.
Yeah.
But Joe was the first Reverend dealer. Joe Naylor worked there. Zach Green worked there.
Yep.
I
did not.
And he was of course he stocked our guitars heavily and was a huge supporter of Penny and I when Penny and I started running the show, and always just I owe a lot to Joe. And Joe bought Music Villa in Livonia, which is the store that I took lessons at when I was a wee lad.
You think you know somebody.
I was never really a wee lad. But
you were always 17.
but I shopped at Music Villa a lot, and so when Joe had 2 locations, he had bought the Music Villa store. And that's where I met him, and that was where I got like my 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th reverence. The first one I got at Music Around in Novi of all things. And so Joe and I became very close and have been close all this the whole time, of course. And Joe always had 100 of our guitars on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a super fun store to walk into.
He'd have to stand up to like other brands reps.
Oh yeah, other brands reps would come in.
Who wanted the floor space, and he'd say, "No, man, these are legit. These are working. I'm doing with these." Were his words.
It is funny because a conversation that we always talk about, or something that usually comes up with me when I'm talking about just the guitar business in general, whether it's manufacturing or retail or whatever, is we get asked like some off-the-wall questions all the time, and I always wonder like, how do people think this works? You know what I mean? Like one of the questions Penny and I get a lot. Not that I want to really go down this road forever, but people will call Penny and be like, "Well, can you send one of those to the store down the street for me, so I can see it?" And we like, it's such an odd question because we have dealers, and the dealers buy the product from us, and so I can't just send a guitar to like, John's Music in Hoboken. Like, I don't know that dude. You know what I mean?
Want to say,
it's like such a weird thing. Like that's not really how the things go on. So and then people think things go on behind the scenes that are really outrageous, but yet there are some crazy things that go on behind the scenes, like reps from other companies going into a music store and saying, "Hey, you have your reverends displayed too prominently in here, and you need to move those."
Into our territory.
Yeah, you need to move. It's like I can't imagine going into somebody's business and telling them how to run it.
And I think that goes back
bizarre.
to the integrity in place in a company like this. That I don't think any decisions, and maybe I'm wrong here because I haven't been part of the operation in a long time, but it's always been my impression that you guys don't make boardroom type decisions. These aren't like callous numbers-based decisions. It's what's best for the product, what's best for your customer, what's the best for everybody involved here. And I think you guys have threaded that needle really well, really creatively.
Thank you very much. I got to admit,
because all that political nonsense happens. Absolutely, people are in it for themselves in the business end of things, and you have to be. Sure, you got to make money so you can keep doing it, but it's cool when you see some actual integrity on display, and the results of that when somebody does say, "No, look."
Penny's crying, by the way.
I am not crying. You're crying.
I'm not crying.
I want to thank the Academy.
So Jesse's here because of Joe's retirement.
Yeah.
One of the things that Joe, he wasn't really handling it for us. He was handling it for him. But Joe and his son-in-law, right?
I think it's his nephew.
Nephew. That's it. Nephew. You're right. It's his nephew.
Young man named Dominic.
And they were doing repairs on the phenolic body guitars. So when Naylor, basically when Penny and I bought the company from Joe and moved the company out of the Warren facility, Joe P, there's too many Joes, Joe from Joe's Music bought a lot of the equipment that was used to build the original phenolic bodies, as far as like routers and things of that nature, and then bought all of the leftover material, the phenolic material that was made, the stuff that was pre-cut almost
when
to
I
build
left,
guitars with.
There were stacks and stacks of that stuff.
Well, because Joe, when in purchasing the phenolic, of course, you don't buy.
No, it comes in. I'll tell you.
You buy 4x8.
I'll tell you, because I was the guy
sheets.
that had to manage those 4-foot by 8-foot phenolic sheets and run them through a table saw, and I still have all my fingers.
Wow.
Yeah, that was honest to God. It was Wild West stuff.
Yeah.
And he has all of it.
Yeah. So with Joe's retirement, Joe had a little. I mean, he had a little healthy side business going of repairing the old instruments. So there are, all told, about 4,000 of them. 40,
I was going to say
4,200 of them, I believe.
I was trying to remember for the last couple of days. I'm like, shoot, because I used to have to serial number the headstocks
we
right
have
above
the
Zach's initials. Yeah, and I thought it was like the low 4s. Or maybe the high 3s, I couldn't remember.
So occasionally somebody will get something that every once in a while one gets smashed in transit somewhere. Yeah. There are guys that are out touring with them. And the phenolic, while hard to break, is not impossible.
Yeah.
And especially we've seen mic stands go right through them.
Yeah.
Things have happened and do happen out there.
There was a guy, an early endorser, who used to unintentionally kick holes in them. And we'd have to repair and so on.
So Joe was handling that out of Joe's music repair shop with all of this equipment for a while, and then with Joe retiring, we don't have any. Zach Green is so busy installing sustainers and doing special projects for us that we don't have time to do that.
And his talents, and absolutely, you should take a sec. If you haven't lately, to really appreciate the quality of craftsmanship you guys have here, and that dude has always done just stellar work. I was telling him this morning, oh my God, the wiring, it was so artful, and I've been working professionally repairing guitars for decades now, and those are so beautifully made. So you need him.
And everything that we do now is patterned off of that.
Yeah.
And QC'd by him.
Yeah, and you don't want somebody like that.
It's just
splitting his focus on other stuff.
Yes, exactly.
So they needed a hero.
We needed a hero, and
he's got to be fast, and he's got to be strong. And he's got to have a great haircut.
Yes. Oh, I like the look.
It's
a good look.
It's sweet.
It means you think a lot. Very, very smart people have that hairline.
I thought it meant I had questionable genes, but
No, our genes, the genes both look really nice. So Jesse's going to be taking over the reskinning of the instruments.
Yeah.
So it isn't like what we don't have, and we don't have anymore when it comes to those older the phenolic body instruments, is the ability to make the outer body ring.
the side rims.
The mold that made the side rims is no longer with us. R.I.P. And so
I had to move that thing once. I nearly broke
brutal.
the axle on the van that I drove, because I had to drive it from Detroit to Indiana, and when we put it in, my whole truck went. And when I got back, Zach goes, "I can't believe you did that, dude. I mean, you could have broken axle, you could have this, you could have that." Yeah,
but
it weighed like 500 pounds.
Oh, no, it was just shy.
It
was just shy of a ton.
Was it?
It weighed about 1,850 pounds.
See, well, I moved it once.
Yeah.
Like it was on a pallet, and I shoved it, and I was like, "That's not a ton."
Oh.
And I moved it like an inch.
Yeah. So while we don't have any rims to make the bodies from scratch, Jesse can repair them. And he is going to have. There's limited phenolics, so there's only so much. There's only so many colors and things to choose from, but there's still a pretty wide selection, I believe, of that
actually,
stuff.
one of our suppliers that we used at the time is actually just down the street from me. So part of the appeal here is obviously I was so stoked. Joe Naylor emailed me asking, hey, would you be interested in helping out with some of this stuff? And I was telling Ken earlier, occasionally I'll get one of those guitars that comes across my bench, and I love the stuff that you guys are doing. All of it works. All of it's still interconnected. But for myself, personally, those guitars have got a sweet spot in my heart, and it was
mine too.
I tend to think of things in terms of golden ages, and this company has some pretty interesting ones. That was, I think, one of them. It was maybe the first golden age. I think you guys are well into at least your second, if not your third.
Yeah.
And so anyway, when he was like, hey, do you want to work on these? And I remembered the last one that came across my bench, and it was like seeing an old friend. It was better than a journal entry or looking at a photo album. I was like, oh my God, yeah. I remember I was listening to a lot of In Flames at the time. This is 2002, Swedish melodic death metal, and I just crank that stuff in the wood shop, and I don't think anybody but me liked it. But to look at those things and get to work on them, and I'm hopeful that. The gentleman that I'm taking over for, he was more of a furniture maker, high-end furniture. He was a drummer, so he's a musician. But if somebody wanted a refret, or they have their place.
Sorry, my son is a drummer, and I make fun of him. So
Oh.
I get to throw the drummer thing out there every once in a while. Apologize to all the drummers out there. No offense.
Yeah, you're sending yourself right to the nursing home here.
Oh, you better believe it. You better believe it.
But anyway, so this Dominic is his name, and an exceptionally capable woodworker with a fantastic facility. But if somebody wanted a refret or something like those along those lines, it wasn't his forte.
Right.
So,
no, of course.
So
yeah, this is more of like a sort of a one-stop.
Yeah.
For all of that, if there's other things.
If there's a need for it.
Yeah. If there's other things that need to be addressed outside of just a broken body.
And understanding that these guitars are pretty left to center. I'm
but he was there.
One of the few people that
right.
understands them and accepts them and absolutely values them for what they are and were. And I am so excited about getting to help maintain the legacy.
That's awesome.
And this probably sounds like, oh, he's a hype guy. Or this is just a whole bunch of fluff, but I really mean it. This stuff absolutely is.
It shows.
It does
and what you do,
in a world where so few promises come true, those ones did.
I don't think that we can. I don't think that we can downplay what you're doing now in any way. I can't be enough of a hype man for you. I personally. I take this guitar to all the NAMM shows to show off.
The first time you sent me a picture of that, I was like, oh my God!
Well, people ask us.
I called my whole family and said, look at this!
This guitar has been front and center in the Railhammer NAMM booth for 5 years now.
I was so flattered when you did that.
And well, I mean, I would rather show people, it's a mahogany double cutaway. And I would rather show people something that is connected to our legacy to have them demonstrate the pickups on. That I know, the quality is there and it plays great. It sounds great. We have not set up this guitar. We haven't done anything to this guitar and I've shipped it back and forth to California 3-4 times now and driven it in the back of the trailer down to Nashville 3-4 times now yeah, it's a great guitar, and it's really fun thing to show off.
So out of mahogany, do you?
We are using Carina for the bodywood on everything that we do.
Okay.
And
so
and then 3-piece Carina necks and it definitely feels.
Here's what they sound like in a mahogany.
Yeah. My sort of my go-tos for the Railhammer display because I don't want to just. We market Railhammer to everybody, and to all players.
I put them in
all
Fenders,
guitars.
I put them in Les Pauls. I mean, not too many Fenders, but the humbucker equipped ones. And they work on all those platforms. And that was I think
my go-tos. My go-tos are your guitar, and Ibanez RG, like a Prestige, like a reverse Prestige sort of thing, and then a comparison baritone.
Yeah.
And like those three guitars, the three guitars look really good all displayed together. And
Question
Heritage too, a Heritage Heritage
Yes.
Hollow Body, also friends of ours from that make guitars. Little company makes guitars in a little factory that has a little bit of guitar history involved in it.
Some local
up there-
boys done well.
up there in the Michigan way, and yeah, so that's sort of our go-to. So anyway, so that's what brought Jesse with us today, and we should we have been on for like 45 minutes.
We have.
So
I
let's
just
take
have-
some questions, and then we got to get out of here.
I just have a few questions, most of them from Johnny Cola.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
I play loud.
Yeah. How'd you know?
Yeah,
That's the guy.
He was the dude when I was working there. I can't even count
Oh,
how
he's
many.
still the dude.
Yeah.
Look, I just got coffee on my glasses.
Yeah, well,
How did you do that?
I am a master of doing dumb shit.
Johnny wants to know if that's a Schroeder bridge.
yes, that is
Johnny.
Jason Schroeder out of California. Also a tremendous luthier in his own right. Schroeder Guitars, I think, is the name of the company. Schroeder Guitar Hardware. They make these little boat tail bridges as well as a bunch of others, and the quality is outstanding. Having worked on so many things that miss the mark, those.
Brass saddles?
Yes, brass
That's neat.
saddles, fully adjustable.
That's really
Also, additional adjustments behind the studs. These are their
Oh, yeah.
proprietary locking studs. They're a top adjustment.
Oh, look at that.
They're
That's
brilliant.
brilliant.
All you need is a screwdriver for those.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Sensible
Very cool.
innovation.
Yeah, very
Not
cool.
likely to fail you down the road.
Cool.
I can't tell you how much that left an impression. Next question, please.
T.D. Davis says, I have a J.I.H. signed rep.
That was me. I signed maybe about 50 guitars when I first hired on, and it was nuts. I was brand new, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid out of luthier school, and I'm like working with people that I'd heard of. These were already, Naylor was already kind of the talk of the town, and so part of my original job was to sign the headstocks after I had inspected them, and I think I had a panic attack or something over that, so he ended up just having Zach initial them after setup, but I think I signed about 50.
Even the guys that work here, the first one is always the hardest. And then, because it is funny watching, like, we've seen everybody do it.
Oh, yeah,
Zens and
yeah.
Kelsey, and everybody practices their initials, like,
Yeah, Naylor would
how do I wanna do the
pull out
initials? How do
the
I wanna-
drafting
yeah.
stuff and say, all right, give me rows of your initials, which I did from drafting classes and stuff. But yeah, that was me.
That, we just,
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are doing it different than we were then with the paint markers. We were just using regular Sharpies. and-
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was like
we've-
ready to pass out, and Naylor goes, "Are you okay?" And I go, "My name's on the guitar. I don't know what to think about that."
We have the Sharpies came, people wiped them off all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's hence the paint.
Yep.
The paint
Yep.
pen
That's what
had
I'm
to
using,
start.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, that was me.
We have
JIH,
reserialized
that's
a number of
Jesse
things
Ian
over the years.
Hopkins. Those were me. That was probably from 2000, because it was very short. I was in the original shop in East Point, and I think they were kind of getting to know me and like, okay, where can we put this guy? And that was something we did for a couple of weeks, and then it was on to something else. So
What else you got, LG?
Johnny Cola again. Was Jesse's the crazy made in America turned aluminum with scalloped board and Floyd Rose?
Yes,
Yep,
Jesse's
that was
Jesse's custom guitar that he made for himself when
Yep.
we were here is a
Yep.
engine turned aluminum Rocco with zebra humbuckers, a scalloped fingerboard, and a Floyd. And I am now the proud owner of that guitar.
and it still has a steel sustain block in it.
Yeah.
Because we weren't putting them in like the Bigsby or the Trem equipped ones at the time because there
Oh.
was enough metal, but that one does. So
Oh, cool.
it's like bright like the sun.
Yeah, it's punchy. It's a machine.
Naylor and I were jamming one time like after hours, and I brought that one, and he goes, "Oh, that sounds really good." I'm like, well,
Yeah.
it's your guitar, dude.
Let's make those.
All I did was put scalloped frets on it.
There are pictures of that guitar on my Instagram page at Haas.Ken from, I don't know, last winter at some point. I don't know. I took some pictures of it, but there are some. If you go to my Instagram and scroll down, there's
I've
some
got
pictures of that.
pictures of me gigging with it. It was a machine.
Yeah.
It was such a cool guitar.
What else you got, LG?
I don't know. You want to hear the snarky comments?
Snarky
yeah,
comments?
throw it.
I don't
Bring
know.
it.
Maybe.
I'm ready.
Maybe. What you got?
Let's see.
I met Jesse.
She's
He's a
lying
jerk.
to us.
There were a few, but then that one.
Ah,
Mostly they're Johnny Cola. The other reps are scared of Reverend.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. This is changing of the guard stuff. If you look at the industry, you know, this is how it plays out. Everything's well and good until, you know, somebody invents the Fender Stratocaster.
Yeah.
Everything's, you know, everything gets passe, and companies end up riding their own coattails until somebody else comes along with. I was going to point at my guitar.
Yeah, there
Somebody
you go.
else comes along with a good
Clay
idea.
Avenue with a good idea,
Well, you know, about Reverends, they're sensible. The innovations are sensible. They work for everybody.
Yeah.
And they have staying power. So yeah, you guys are at the vanguard, not the cutting edge, but the bleeding edge of the art. That's in front of the cutting edge.
See, I got to go on that. That was great. LG, we're going to sign out.
Okay.
All right. You good with that?
I'm good.
So listen, you can find out more information about Clay Avenue Guitars on his website and Facebook page. And
Somebody said his website's down.
Ah,
dude,
Yeah.
I'll talk to
on his Facebook
my IT
page.
guy.
And then as far as the repairs on the older instruments are concerned, we will have links on our site in the About Us and the FAQs that will steer you over towards him. But you can also just
You can find
go
it,
to his
social
stuff
medias,
directly
all
and
of that.
and,
My contact information.
and
all
we'll
over
and
those.
then I'm gonna demonstrate this clean tone on this guitar again, because really yeah, I don't want to say it's diminutive, but it is a smaller frame with a huge sound. How beautiful is that?
Yeah, the pickups, the rail hammers, just as much as any boutique pickup, and I have used all of them. Those are a perfect I don't know, tunnel to the light in the stuff that I make. They augment the construction just the way you'd want them to. And you don't have to wait 6 months to get a set wound from some squirrely guy in town who makes pickups and, you know, your favorite rock star uses them. They, like all of your products, they do what they promise.
We do what we promise.
They do.
Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic week. Penny and I will be back next week. LG,
I will not.
because we are going to we'll be gone the week after, so we'll pop in on you guys next Friday and give you an update to what's going on and show you some new stuff. We have some really cool exclusive stuff that's going to be shipping out, so I'm going to grab a couple of those. We'll see you next Friday, everybody. Have a good one. Clay Avenue Guitars.